representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law, the President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type.
Hey, welcome in to Courageous Media. Thanks so much for being here. So we've got breaking news on Tish James. That little clip right there was just the lead-in to what has happened yesterday. Those allegations were talked about, but now we've got actual indictments. That's right. Big Tish James has been indicted on 2 counts of bank fraud. We're going to dive in with Jesse Waters as he lays out the latest developments in the Tish James case. Before we do so, please let me know that you're here in the comments. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate you rolling up on a Friday. Check this out.
Fox News alert, Letitia James has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Senior correspondent Kevin Cork has the details. Kevin.
Evening, Jesse. Just reading the headline will be for many sweet vindication, proving that, sometimes legal turnabout is in fact fair play. A federal grand jury in Virginia indicting the New York Attorney General Letitia James on 2 counts related to alleged mortgage bank fraud. James, or Big Tish as she's been monikered by some of her critics, was being probed for alleged paperwork discrepancies on her Brooklyn townhouse and her Virginia home. She allegedly declared both to be primary residences on mortgage applications, which you just can't do. Though I should add this, she has publicly denied any wrongdoing. And she responded to the charges today with a video saying this about the president.
He's forcing federal law enforcement agencies.
So we're going to dive into her little tirade here, because let's make no bones about it. She goes on a tirade over the fact that she is getting indicted by the DOJ. She's not getting indicted by Trump. Trump is not indicting her. The Department of Justice, via the U.S. Attorney for I believe it's the Eastern District in Virginia, has put her in front of a grand jury, and that grand jury has returned an indictment. This all started not because Trump said, go get Tish James. No, this started when the chairman of the Federal Housing Finance Corporation, which is essentially the Fannie Mae government organization, said, hey, we've got serious anomalies that we've noticed with Letitia James, and here is a criminal referral, DOJ, Department of Justice. There are serious malfeasance here that we see. And so the DOJ then referred it to the U.S. Attorney. The U.S. Attorney impaneled a grand jury, and that grand jury in Virginia, in Alexandria, Virginia, which is not conservative by any stretch of the imagination. Virginia, home to many, many Democrats and leftists. That grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of bank fraud. Now, it's interesting to note that they returned that indictment within like an hour. It took them no time at all. There was very little deliberation. They looked at the facts that the federal's government provided and said, yeah, there's enough here. Proceed to trial right away. So now that you understand the genesis of this. That is not Trump. There is no political weaponization here. There is no Trump saying, I'm going to go get this person. Unlike Tish James, when she ran for, as you saw in the first clip, when she ran for the Attorney General of New York, said, I am going to get Trump no matter what. I'm going to investigate Trump, the Trump organization, the Trump Foundation, the Trump family. I will find something that he has done. She even had supporters come up and say, please sue him for us. Oh, I will. For what? They had to invent the stuff after the fact. They had to basically tie the law, New York law, in knots in order to get the 3 trials that they got. The one was the lawsuit by the woman he supposedly defamed over sexual assault allegations. Then there was the civil suit by the state of New York against the Trump organization for supposedly defrauding Deutsche Bank, when Deutsche Bank said, no, we weren't defrauded, not at all. We're a sophisticated bank and we're forced to do our own due diligence on the value of Mar-a-Lago. And Trump's valuation was well in line with normal procedures. And oh, by the way, we did our own due diligence anyway, and we accepted his loan terms. And oh, by the way, he paid us everything back. And we want to do business with him again. There was no damage. There was no fraud. Then you've got the final, the 34 felony indictments in which they had to retroactively remove the statute of limitations from a misdemeanor charge, then take that misdemeanor charge, bootstrap it to a non-existent felony, a felony that doesn't exist, in order to make that misdemeanor a felony. So you've got essentially they tied themselves in pretzels in order to try to get any type of case against Trump. Did Trump do that? No. Did Trump? No. He simply passed everything over to Pam Bondi and to his administration. They acted on their own. Federal Housing Finance issued the criminal referral, the DOJ sent it to the U.S. Attorney impaneled a grand jury, and the grand jury produced the indictment. Now, check out Tish, because Tish is angry. She does not like to be on the receiving end of no one is above the law. She just wants to be the entitled aristocrat, royalty politician, which is above the law, but she's not. Check this out.
He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding. All because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General.
Now, we're told that the grand jury was presented with evidence by the new U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan herself. That's a rare move. It's usually handled by lower-level prosecutors. Halligan, you may recall, is President Trump's former private attorney. In a statement we received today, Halligan said the charges, as alleged in this case, represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust. Halligan's predecessor, Eric Siebert, resigned last month under pressure from the administration. Sources tell us he was off-ramped for refusing to move forward with obvious charges. For her part, James has a first scheduled appearance in court on October the 24th. We'll be watching. I have a feeling you will too.
No one is above the law, even Big Tish.
We will absolutely be watching. Yes, we will, because this case is just one of many that need to be prosecuted. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much, everybody, for rolling up. Eric Smith, first one in the house. Doesn't she sound like Sophia from the movie The Color Purple? I'm not sure. It has been so long since I have seen that movie. Now you're going to make me go find clips on YouTube just to check it out. Lawrence Leggett in the house. Really appreciate you. Morning, everybody. Yes, so we've got Tish James indicted by a grand jury in Virginia. She will be in court again for arraignment. Hopefully, I believe it'll be arraignment. It'll be the first one here later on this month. But if you ask me, just looking at the evidence that's out there, it seems that they've got her dead to rights. She signed a federal form via a power of attorney. So she specifically signed a power of attorney that said, this is my principal residence. This is my primary residence. When she knew full well that it could not be her primary residence, because as the Attorney General of New York, she must reside in New York. So this looks, if you ask me, very bad for Tish James. Now, there is a myriad of other crimes that I think she should be investigated, indicted, and charged with. Everything from conspiracy against rights, all of the lawfare that she conducted against President Trump, the weaponization of her office, as Mark Davis has said before, conspiracy against rights, not only those of the president, but those of everybody who voted for him. There are a myriad of other crimes. These are the first two. And we'll see, this could be the way that the DOJ uses in order to go subpoena everything about her life. This will be very interesting. But I did want to check in. Here is the actual indictment. And we're going to check in with Mike Davis, because Mike Davis is somebody that we have come to trust in terms of his law acumen. But here's the actual indictment. So we want to get to count one. So here we are from August 7th, 2020 through January 2024 in the Eastern District of Virginia and elsewhere. Letitia James did knowingly execute and attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud OVM Financial and First Savings Bank financial institutions to obtain monies, funds, credits owed by and under the custody of those institutions. Count two basically says the same thing, but instead of against OVM and First Financial, it is against Fannie Mae-backed lender. So this is where the federal charges come in. Now, I want to dive over to Mike Davis, because Mike Davis lays this out. It's really, really interesting to hear him talk about this. He's the one, if you remember, that went on, I believe it was the Benny Show, and said, hey, Tish James, continue down this road and we're going to put your fat ass in prison. Well, that is looking more and more like exactly what's going to happen. Check out Mike Davis on The Bannon Show.
First, I want to say congratulations to President Trump's U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsey Halligan. She is the one who brought and won the indictment against James Comey, and now she just brought and won an indictment against Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General, who tried to bankrupt President Trump for non-fraud. Remember this. Let's remind your listeners, your viewers, what happened there. They went after Tish James with Judge Arthur Engeron, this goofball Democrat judge in New York, tried to bankrupt President Trump with a $400 million judgment because Judge Engeron with Big Tish James said that President Trump somehow committed bank fraud with sophisticated Wall Street banks that he paid back on time, as agreed, in full with interest. They say that these sophisticated Wall Street banks somehow got duped on the valuation of Mar-a-Lago. And they said that President Trump overvaluated Mar-a-Lago when he said it was around $750 million. Instead, they said that Mar-a-Lago was worth only $18 million. Just to put this in perspective, Mar-a-Lago is one of the most prime pieces of real estate on the planet. It is 20 acres of land in Palm Beach, Florida, that touches both the Atlantic Ocean and the intracoastal waterway. A tennis court at Mar-a-Lago is worth more than $18 million. But even though Trump paid back the banks on time, as agreed, in full, with interest, Big Tish James and Judge Goofball Arthur Engeron socked Trump with a $400 million judgment and tried to foreclose on the properties, tried to enforce the judgment to bankrupt Trump, because who has $400 million in cash laying around, right? And so fast forward to today, the New York appellate courts have put a stop to that nonsense in New York, largely because Big Tish and Arthur Engeron are such whack jobs. Now, fast forward today, we have learned a grand jury has agreed and indicted Big Tish that she lied on her mortgage application for her second home in Richmond, Virginia. Her mortgage, she got a mortgage on an investment property, and she said it was her primary residence. and she got a lower interest rate on that because she lied and said it was her primary residence. Well, here's the problem. She's the New York Attorney General. By statute in New York, her primary residence has to be in New York. So she's either defrauding New York by living in Virginia, or she's defrauding Virginia by living in New York, right? It's one or the other. Well, the grand jury just decided today she's defrauding Virginia by claiming Virginia is her primary residence, and she got charged with mortgage fraud. I think it's like up to 30 years in prison for each count. I think it's up to $1 million in fines and restitution on top of that. So I think Big Tish is in big trouble now in the Eastern District of Virginia federal court. Now, let me make this last point, Steve. This isn't some right-wing grand jury. This is in the Eastern District of Virginia in Alexandria, the Alexandria division. I worked there many years ago. This is loaded up with Democrats, government workers, and illegal immigrants. That's the Eastern District of Virginia. So it seems like it's a pretty strong case by U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan, President Trump's all-star U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia.
Wow. To think now she's been indicted on 2 counts. If each count carries up to 30 years in prison and up to $1 million in fines, this could get very, very ugly for Tish James. And this could open the door to all sorts of other prosecutions. Because again, the federal government can now step in and be like, hey, why don't you admit to all this other stuff? We'll let this go, but you're going to admit to all of your meetings with Joe Biden. You're going to admit to the DOJ's help in prosecuting Trump in New York. I don't know where this is going to go. But just on its face, Tish James is facing up to 60 years in prison, which is very ugly. As she says, it's just a paperwork mistake. Yeah, but you're a lawyer. You are the attorney general. It is incumbent upon you not to make paperwork mistakes. If you were average Joe citizen, someone could look at this on its face and go, yeah, I could see average Joe citizen possibly making some of these mistakes, not understanding the ramifications of this, you name it. However, average Joe citizen wouldn't even be accorded the fanfare, the media coverage, the ability to stand at a podium and lambaste the Trump administration for weaponizing the government against you. They wouldn't be given that. They wouldn't be given high dollar attorneys. The average Joe citizen would be convicted by the feds on this. That's the ugly part. Whereas Tish James, with a much higher standard of care and action, being the Attorney General of New York and a impaneled somebody sitting under the bar, has a much higher degree of action, much higher standard. So this is going to be very interesting to see where this goes. We will absolutely be following this as she appears in court later on this month. This could be very, very ugly for Tish James. And I would say it's poetic justice based on how ugly she tried to make things for President Trump and his family and his associates, lawyers that try to defend him. This is absolutely amazing. So let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up for this first segment. We've got 2 more. We've got 2 other stories we want to cover. Lawrence Leggett, she knew what she was doing. I agree with you. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's not, I think she's rather stupid, but from a book smart perspective, she knows the law. She absolutely does. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew it was wrong. She knew why she was doing it. Then there's all of the New York fraud with her 5-unit apartment building that she listed as 4 units in order to get residential loans and not commercial, in order to also be filed under residential and not multifamily commercial in the state of New York, which increases her liability and all the other standards that she has to meet. So there's also New York law that she has violated, which there's been no indictment on those, but I think there should be. So this will be very interesting to see how it plays out. So again, really appreciate everybody rolling up. If you could, please smash that like button for me. Subscribe if
up
you
to
haven't
the
already.
maximum of 10.2%.
And let's dive into our next story. We've got some shutdown shenanigans going on, and we want to talk about this because this is getting really ugly for the Democrats. Here we go.
as you observe this government shutdown, like if you were in the Senate right now, what would you be telling the other Republicans to be doing? What would be the Royce White game plan for this moment in this shutdown if you were in the Senate today?
I'd say hold the line. Let the thing shut down.
You would say don't allow the Democrats any concessions on the Obamacare subsidies. Make no
Not a single inch. Let Russ go to work. Let the president go to work. Let the thing. But you see, I'm radical, Matt. You know that. I mean, I'm radical. When it comes to policy, I'm radical. And, that's why in a place like Minnesota where you have a lot of what they call plumb line Republicans or Nikki Haley, milquetoast moderates, it's a miracle it's not a miracle. It's a sign that the MAGA movement has taken the Republican Party nationwide, that I was able to win a Republican Party primary in a moderate Republican place like Minnesota. Even the Republicans who used to be plumb line are sick of the shit. They're saying, you plumb line Republicans have had Minnesota for 30 years, and look what happened. It's the epicenter of Marxism. And Ilhan Omar's, running around like she's queen of the world. It's ridiculous. We're tired of it. So
you're so right. The Benedict Arnolds of your state, or whoever the people were who said to Bill Clinton, "Yep, you know what? Bring them here." You got a bunch of desperate people from the deserts of Somalia. We think they'll do great in Minnesota. We think they'll get here and do great. Like whoever.
I love some Royce White. Royce White is a character. He is definitely not most people's cup of tea. I love the fact that he is running for Senate in Minnesota. I hope he gets it. He tried last time. I really hope he gets it. They need a Royce White type person in the Senate. They absolutely do. But as he said, on this government shutdown, the Republicans need to not give an inch. Draw the line and say either vote for the CR as it is, no concessions, not one thin red cent of additional spending. The Democrats either completely capitulate and reopen the government or go away. And in the go away phase, what President Trump needs to do, what his administration needs to do is cut the federal government to the bone. Cut it back by trillions of dollars. So we're going to get into that story because it looks like there is $2 trillion worth of cutbacks that could be made during this government shutdown. We could cut federal expenditures from 6 down to 4 trillion. And if the government is bringing in 5 trillion, we could start paying off our national debt at a clip that if we go from Trump to a Republican president for the next 2 terms, we could almost completely pay off our national debt, which would be absolutely amazing and would put this country in a financial position unparalleled in the world. So let's check this out, because Mike Johnson was echoing some similar sentiments. He was lambasting the Democrats and Schumer on this whole shutdown nonsense. He was on Fox and he got pretty heated about this whole shutdown situation. So we're going to dive into that. Hey, Reppins 12, I wanted to give you a shout out. Thanks so much for rolling up. Lawrence Leggett, I agree they're grifting quite well. Eric Smith, I'm in DC. I haven't been to Front Row. So Eric and Reppins, you're both in the Virginia area. Maybe you can probably speak to just how liberal the Alexandria, Virginia area is. And on our previous story, just how big an earthquake it is that a grand jury returned an indictment on Tish James. Would love to hear about that. All right. So here, let's dive in with Mike Johnson.
Infuriating to us. Everything that Hakeem Jeffries said there is the opposite of the truth. It was 3 weeks ago today, Brian, that the House voted to pay the troops, pay federal workers, and keep the government open. We passed a clean CR. 3 weeks ago, the ball is in the Senate's court. That's where the duty must be done now. But Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are playing politics with the lives of real American people. He's getting accolades right now from the far left. That was the whole objective. They had to appease the Marxist base of the Democrat Party, and so they picked this fight right now. It is absurd. As you know, the measure that we sent over there 3 weeks ago is a clean CR. It is 24 pages in length, the bare minimum necessary to keep the lights on so Congress can continue to do its work. They shut it down. It's on them. For counting yesterday, the Democrats have now voted 8 times in both chambers to stop the payment of checks to troops, federal workers. We have 2 million civilian employees that will not be getting paid now, and 1.3 active duty military service members. It is infuriating to us.
So go ahead, Ainsley.
Thank you, Lawrence. So how do you react when you hear Chuck Schumer saying, every day gets better for us? What about the people who aren't getting paid? What about the women who are here while their husbands are deployed? What about people who are trying to get go on vacation or go away for the holiday weekend and their flights are delayed or canceled? How is that better for everybody?
Real harm to real people, and we're hearing it from our constituents. The House Republicans right now are in their districts working, trying to help people through this crisis. Infuriating.
It's not better for anybody but the leftists, Marxist, Democrats. And I'm not even sure it's better for them. They're getting pummeled in the opinion polls. Everybody has equated this shutdown. They call it the Schumer shutdown. They realize that this is Democrats. This is the Democrat shutdown. The Republicans brought forth a clean CR that continues spending levels with no changes, and the Democrats have decided to shut this down over money for illegal aliens. $1.5 trillion in additional spending, billions and billions of dollars for healthcare for illegal aliens, billions of dollars for the ACA that nobody likes, because the ACA, Obamacare, did nothing but wreck healthcare. Everybody's premiums went up. It's a disaster. Everybody knows it's a disaster. The Republicans should have fixed it 8 years ago when Trump first got into office in his first term, but we had a bunch of milquetoast rhinos that didn't go through with it, specifically McCain, who was one of the deciding votes against that in the Senate. So now we're stuck with it. Well, this shutdown is going to get very, very ugly for the Democrats. I hope it does. I've got 2 clips right now of where I believe the administration is going. Donald Trump needs to pull the trigger on this. Do not wait anymore. The Democrats have stretched out this shutdown 10 days. Execute on the 2 plans that we're going to see in the following clips right now. Do not delay. Do it today. It should have been done yesterday. First, I want to check in with Lee Zeldin. And Bob, I hope I am with you. They need to bring down the deep state, and it needs to start right here. Let's check in with Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin was on Fox talking about his plans for shutdown cuts, and I thought it was amazing. Check this out.
That's allowed us, if there was a total lapse of funding at EPA, no carryover funding, the lapse plan has a furlough of up to 89% of the agency. EPA is a bit different than most other agencies in that we have so much carryover funding. So when we wake up on October 1st, we're not just instantly, completely shut down. As you just pointed out, there has been carryover funding that's allowed us to continue to fulfill our statutory obligations and to also pursue this deregulatory agenda, to get our work done and to fulfill the president's priorities and his demands of our agency. But now as this Democratic shutdown continues, Democrats continue to refuse to vote to reopen this government. These furloughs are going to kick in even at an agency like the EPA where you have the carryover funding.
They don't need to be furloughs. They need to be RIFs, reduction in force. Do not furlough these people. Actually cut their jobs. Lay everybody off. You're gone. And then when funding is restored, if you want to hire back any of those positions, make sure they are MAGA Republicans. We need to seed the government with non-leftist bureaucrats so that we can create an inertia against leftist change should there ever be a Democrat president in the next 16 years. Hopefully there isn't. Hopefully we roll right from Trump to a Republican for the next 8 years, and let's keep going. Let's keep making America great and run into a Republican after that. But 90%, they can get rid of 90% of their staff. That's what needs to happen in every single agency. 90%, 89%. There are millions of government bureaucrats and functionaries that need to be gone. Now I want to dive into this from, not the most conservative, Joni Ernst, Senator Joni Ernst, quasi-rhino, but check this out, because she's talking about even bigger cuts, and she's talking about why. Because you've got the federal government rife with waste and corruption. Here we go.
I sent a letter to Russ Vought outlining about $2 trillion of savings, a number of different measures there.
I want to stop it right there. I'm going to replay that. I want you to get that. $2 trillion in savings. That's what I was saying in my monologue segment. 2 trillion, right? Last year, the government expenditures were about 6 trillion in our government revenue, which is a bad word, but basically the tax intake, the theft from American citizens and businesses was about 5 trillion. So we're $1 trillion upside down. You cut the federal government by 2 trillion when you've already got from the big beautiful bill upwards of $400 or $500 billion a year in savings. Now you're talking $2.5 trillion. You go from 6 to 3.5 to 4. You're paying off. You could start paying off $1.5 trillion of national debt every year. We would have the national debt paid off in about 10 years. A little more, I guess. Yeah. Because I guess the national debt right now is, in the 20 trillion range. So we'd have to get to about 15 years. But we could absolutely do that with Donald Trump and the next Republican president. 100%. So let's replay that. $2 trillion in savings. Now listen to what she says about some of these federal workers.
I sent a letter to Russ Vought outlining about $2 trillion of savings, a number of different measures there. But one is really going after those federal government employees that are deemed as non-essential. We've identified a number of those. And there are also the bad actors. We found one woman who was literally clocking in at 3 different federal jobs full time. There were several days we found that she actually was claiming 26 hours of work per day. And this was because we had telework opportunities for those federal government employees. I mean, this is out.
Think about that. You got government workers that have 3 different jobs that clock in for 26 hours a day. This is absolute nonsense. How do you have systems? This goes back to the Doge, to Elon Musk and saying, we've got to revamp all of the federal computer systems so that you can't have this. So they've got checks and balances. So they've got, automated fraud detection. How do you let someone with a single social security number clock into 3 federal jobs? It's crazy.
Outrageous. So what we need to do is identify those bad actors and get rid of them. They should not be here. We have IRS agents out there that actually owe back taxes to the federal government, and yet they're hired to go after Joe Citizen on the street. So there are a number of ways that we can trim back on the number of workers that we have. We need to be a more efficient government. That's why I'm chairing the Senate Doge Caucus. It's not just about cutting and eliminating, but also making more efficient, better working for our American taxpayer. We can do that. This is a great opportunity. President Trump will steer us through this and find ways with Russ Vought that we can prove to have a more effective and efficient government.
100%. Fire millions of government bureaucrats right now. Do not wait, Donald Trump. Do not wait, Russ Vought. Do not wait, Lee Zeldin and every other cabinet head, secretary in the Trump administration. Do it now. Riff all of the people, get them out of government, and cut, as Joni Ernst said, $2 trillion off the federal budget. Do it now. Gut this whole thing. You cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget, you are gutting the deep state. You are absolutely taking a sledgehammer, a chainsaw, and a flamethrower to deep state money laundering apparatuses. You are taking it to deep state entrenched bureaucrats who never go anywhere and constantly thwart conservative presidents when they are elected. Do it now. We have the opportunity to absolutely cut the heart out of a lot of this stuff, and it needs to be done right now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Appreciate all your comments. Reppins 12. Isn't that fraud? Not if you're a Democrat. Yeah, that's right. Rules for thee, not for me. 100%. All right, we've got one more story to get to, and this one's going to be laughable. You are going to cringe and laugh at this. If anybody's not heard of Katie Porter, well, you're about to. So let's dive right in. Before we do, please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, if you like the content, please share A Courageous Media with everybody that you know. All right, check this out.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order?
Sorry about that. Try this over.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
How dare you ask a follow-up question? How dare you ask me a question that I must answer? Don't you know that I am the queen? Don't you know that I am royal? I'm a royal politician. You will bend down and kiss my backside right now. You are a plebe. You're a little reporter. You are nothing to me. You answer to me. You should be awed in my presence. This is leftist politicians to a T, and Katie Porter has this in spades. For those of you who don't know who Katie Porter is, welcome to the Katie Porter episode, because this woman is an absolute train wreck, and she is the front runner candidate in the Democrat primary for governor of California. This is how bad it is. This is who Kamala Harris dropped out because she couldn't beat. You got to be kidding me. You can't beat this ridiculous troll. This is absolutely outrageous. We're going to finish that clip, because as it turns out, she's too weak in the mind and the head and the knees in order to actually cancel the interview. No, she just whines and complains, but ends up going through it. But all of the other stuff has started to come out now. The Katie Porter clips have started to make their rounds on the internet. Her staff has long accused her of being a bully, of being abusive, of being ridiculous. And now the clips are coming out that prove it to be true. So Californians have a decision to make. This woman cannot win the primary. She is an absolute train wreck. We're going to finish this clip, but really appreciate y'all rolling up to the Courageous Media today. Really appreciate you being here at the Chris Highland Show. Thanks so much. Let me know you're here in the comments. You guys are awesome. So here we go. Let's dive into more Katie Porter, as painful as that might be. I apologize in advance. Here we go.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't
our
care.
follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a
end an
conversation
interview.
with
To end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's...
You are not a leader. You are a spoiled, petulant child. I have 3-year-olds who behave better than you. This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just the fact that in California, someone this unattractive can even make it this far in politics is one thing, but that's a whole different story. It'd be it'd be something different if you're in another state. But anyway, she is an entitled, arrogant, snobbish brute. She does not want to be asked follow-up questions because she cannot answer them. She's too stupid. She has no grasp of the issues. It's a very simple question. What do you say to the 40% who supported Trump? What do I say? Well, I can answer that question. I took offense to I need them to win. Guess what? You're going to have another candidate. And that other candidate might just well suck away some independents and some Democrats because you are so atrociously bad, ill-mannered. It's crazy. This is the level of politician in California. This is the level of politician on the left, frankly. Just match her up because the same thing was said about Hillary Clinton, has been said about Ilhan Omar, has been said about Kamala Harris, how abusive and bullyish and ridiculous that they are behind the scenes, how ill-tempered they are. All of them. Why? Because they are entitled, emotional, leftist Democrats who think they are the new aristocracy. They think they are the nouveau royalty, that they are kings and queens, and that they are entitled to power and to position and to respect, and you owe it to them because they're something special. Well, they are not. They are merely people running to be representatives. They should be servants of the people. And her claim that I'm this because I'm a leader. No, you want to be a sovereign. You want to be a royal. And we don't have those in America. And frankly, we find your behavior detestable.
It's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these. And if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience. I want you to ask me very simple questions, the ones that you sent my office beforehand that I prepared for. Let's be honest. This was supposed to be a scripted interview. She had the questions in advance. She had simple, prepared answers. They were going to run through about 15 questions, bang, 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 bang. And she was going to get out of there with her pre-prepared answers. And this reporter had the gall to ask a pre-arranged follow-up question. Holy moly. And as the reporter politely needled this woman over and over again, every candidate's asked, these are the same questions I asked every candidate. I asked all the candidates these questions. They're the same questions I asked everybody. You can't answer the question that everybody's answered? No, she can't, because she's a mental midget, even though she's not physically one, as you can tell by her rather large girth. So this is absolutely amazing that she would put herself in this position. To be on camera melting down like this is crazy. Now, this is not just now the clips have started to come out. Check this out, because it gets worse for Katie Porter. So here's another clip of her on some sort of podcast interview, and check out how she treats her staff.
It's dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money.
How dare you get in my shot? And uses profanity, F-word laced tirades against her own staff. It's absolutely amazing. This is who this person is. Now, it has gotten so bad that you've got CNN and The View absolutely lambasting her. Check this out from a TikTok video from CNN. This is absolutely crazy. This is not going to be good for Katie Porter. Check this out.
CNN walked to the studio with me, but also, look at this. I don't know if you saw this. It's bad. It's really bad. If you can, you should go watch the video it's Katie Porter who is running for governor of California. And she really doesn't want to be asked this question about how she's going to win Trump voters in a state. And then more's coming out, because of course it is. Because of course it is. When someone breaks the seal on this stuff, more's only going to come out. So you've got this one now. And I'm sure it's not going to be the only one. I'm sure staffers of hers, political opponents, I'm sure journalists, sure they've got it all. This is bad for several reasons. One, she looks like a total jerk. And, she's had that reputation. That's not great. It's definitely not disqualifying in today's day and age, but it's not great. She looks like a bully and a jerk. The worst part for me is saying the quiet part out loud, which is that, yeah, she doesn't need Trump voters to win. Of course she doesn't. It's California. Of course she doesn't. But you're running to be the governor of the whole state. Wouldn't you at least want to say, I can probably win without them, but I'm going to reach out to every voter. My message is meant to be heard by every voter. It's not just for Democrats. I'm not just going to be the governor of Democrats, but I'm going to be the governor of Trump fans and independents and progressives and moderates. That's what you say. But the entitlement I'm hearing it from a lot of Democrats right now, the entitlement to their seat, the entitlement to run for re-election at 88 years old, the entitlement not to have to sit down and do interviews. We can do whataboutism, we can talk about the right, but I'm talking about Democrats because they're in trouble. This is bad.
It's absolutely bad. And it absolutely rips the mask off their entitled nouveau aristocracy attitude. They want to be royalty. They think they are royalty, and they think you need to bend down, bend the knee, grovel at their feet, because that's who they think they are. This is a problem that infests the left, because the left primarily has become Marxist, globalist corruptocrats. They want the new aristocracy. They don't want to call it the new aristocracy. They want to be like the old Soviet Union, where everybody was essentially, because of your familial relations, you were born into power and you never lost it. This is what they want. They want to recreate the European aristocracy, the royalty of all the old monarchs, without calling it monarchs. They want to be, some nice Western new version of that with new names, but that's exactly who they want to be. Now, as she said, they have ripped the mask off this, and now everything is coming out. So now you've got the fact that we find out she abused her ex-husband. The former husband of Representative Katie Porter said that the California frequently abused him verbally, threw toys, books, other objects at him during their marriage, even pouring scalding hot mashed potatoes on his head during a fight. Now, I wonder, did they call the police? Did he call the police? Was she charged with domestic battery? She should have been. Now, this looks like it's in March 2012, so it may not even be within the statute of limitations. But if it is, charges need to be filed instantly, right now. This is absolutely ridiculous. She needs to be held accountable for these egregious actions. I'm going to finish this clip with someone who is running on the Republican side, who is talking about Katie Porter and how bad this could be for Democrats, and the fact that they're going to expose all of this and potentially win because of it. Here we go.
No interest. So I've been out today. Everyone's going on about Katie Porter, obviously. But in a way, it's unfair to pile on her. She's not unusual. They're all like this, these California Democrats. They're all the same.
That's right.
Arrogant, entitled, this ruling elite. 15 years of one-party rule, and they think they should never be held accountable for all their failures. How dare you ask me questions? They're going to rule forever. They have no interest in the lives of the people they're supposed to represent or the actual results of their policies. It is so disgusting. And she just ripped the mask off. And they're all the same. And that's why we're going to have change in California. We are sick of it. We are sick of these people, their failure and their arrogance. That's why I'm going to be in the top 2 next year. I can see people, Democrats, independents, getting behind my campaign. That's why we're going to win next year. We are going to kick these people out and have change in California.
Hopefully hopefully, yes, please change California, because we don't want a Marxist, socialist, failed state on our left coast. Please change it. This would be fantastic. If ripping the mask off Katie Porter rips the mask off all the other California Democrats and actually prompts people to potentially at least vote middle of the road, would be absolutely amazing. But Rep. 12, you are correct. California votes for this crap every single time. They are so infested with leftism. But we're going to see what happens. Maybe this time will be the change. God can do anything. God can work miracles. Let's hope he does in this particular case. Hey, I really appreciate everybody rolling up for our 3 stories today. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a phenomenal Friday. Remember that God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. In the meantime, please smash that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you like the content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know, and consider joining us as a member on YouTube of the Courageous Army. Thanks so much for being here. God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. It's not yet good. Hey, it's not yet the end. Check. Have a great, great day.